alloy. Actually, brass is an alloy which is made by mixing copper and zinc. Copper and zinc. The two together will form brass. So it is an alloy. When two or more metals will mix together to form a compound, it is called as an alloy. So here the two metals, that is copper and zinc, are mixing together. So this is an alloy. Next question. Nitrogen plus oxygen gives rise to nitrous oxide. So what is this type of reaction? Is it a reduction reaction, endothermic reaction, exothermic reaction, or decomposition reaction? What is the type of reaction here? Let us see who will answer correctly. Divya has mentioned it as Strutasya, option 2. Vasant, option 3. Prem Charan, option 3, option 2. So let us see which is the right option. Yes, it is option 2. It is an endothermic reaction. Why? Because there is absorption of heat, not the release of heat during the reaction. Okay. So next question. So silver chloride on reaction with sunlight gives rise to silver plus chlorine. What is this type of reaction? First option is photochemical, second option is thermal decomposition, third one is exothermic, and fourth one is endothermic. Which type of reaction is this? So Vaishnavi mentioned it as option 2. Shraddha mentioned it as option 1. Pranita Gaud is mentioning it as option 1. Saumika, option 1. Okay, let us see which is the right option. Yes, option 1 is the right option. Photochemical. So photo means light. So in presence of light, if the reaction takes place, then it is called as a photochemical reaction. So since this reaction is occurring in presence of sunlight, it is called as a photochemical reaction. Next question. The downward arrow in a chemical reaction indicates what? First one, direction. Second one, gas. Third one, precipitation. Fourth one, no reaction. Which is the right option? బాటమ్ యారో కానీ ఒక రియాక్షన్ దగ్గర మనం మెన్షన్ చేస్తే దాని మీనింగ్ ఏంటి? సౌమిక చెప్తుంది ప్రెసిపిటేషన్ అని. నవ్తేజ్ ఆప్షన్ 1. Strutasya option 3, that is precipitation. So let us see which is the right option. Yes. So whenever there is a down arrow, it means it is precipitation. So when there is a precipitate form, so it is represented by a down arrow. Next question. Tarnishing of silverware is due to corrosion. Okay, it is not rancidity, oxidation, or reduction. Rancidity is another name for oxidation when it occurs in usually oils or waxes. Oils or waxes, when they are oxidized, they are called as rancidified. Okay, these three terms does not apply to tarnishing of silverware, that is blackening of silver. Blackening of silver is due to the corrosion. Okay. So now next question. The color of lead iodide precipitate formed due to reaction of lead nitrate and potassium iodide is. So what is the color of lead iodide precipitate which is formed due to reaction of lead iodide, lead nitrate and potassium iodide? What is the color? So Strutasya has mentioned it as yellow. Vasant has mentioned it as option 4, that is yellow. So the right option is yellow color. Okay. So when lead nitrate reacts with potassium iodide, lead iodide precipitate is formed, which is yellow in color. Okay. Lead iodide is yellow in color. Next question. Which of the following is a skeletal reaction? So which of the following is a skeleton reaction? Look at all the 4 options and mention which is the skeleton reaction over here. Option 2, Shrutasya is mentioning it as option 2. Prem Charan mentioning it as option 1. So here option 1 is right. That is a skeleton reaction. C3H8 plus oxygen. This is propane on reaction with oxygen. It gives carbon dioxide plus water molecule. This is a skeleton reaction. Next question. In a decomposition reaction of calcium carbonate, which one is formed? So whenever you are decomposing calcium carbonate, which of the following is formed? One is carbon dioxide, oxygen, hydrogen and nitrogen. What is the right option? Vaishnavi is mentioning it as option 3. Shraddha is mentioning it as option 1. So the right option here is carbon dioxide. Okay. So on heating of calcium carbonate, it decomposes into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Okay. So that is why carbon dioxide is formed here. Next question. Calcium oxide react with water to form what? Calcium carbonate, calcium hydroxide, calcium chloride or calcium nitrate. Which is the right option? Pranita is mentioning it as option 1. Saumika mentioned as option 2. Harshavardhan has mentioned it as option 1. So let us see which is the right option. Calcium hydroxide or quicklime or slaked lime. Okay. So quicklime, when it reacts with water, it forms slaked lime. Okay. So this is the right option. Next question. Ammonia is formed by the reaction of which gases? Nitrogen and oxygen, nitrogen and hydrogen, hydrogen and oxygen, hydrogen and helium. So which of the following gases will combine together to form ammonia? So Saumika mentioned as option 3. Navtej option 1. Shrutasya option 3. It is actually this marking is wrong. It is nitrogen and oxygen. Nitrogen and hydrogen. Okay. Ammonia is produced by combining nitrogen and hydrogen, and the process is called as Haber process. Haber process. Okay. This is wrong. Okay. Nitrogen and hydrogen are the two gases which will combine to form ammonia, that is NH4. Next, a solution of potassium iodide reacts with lead nitrate to form first one potassium nitrate, second one lead iodide, or 1 and 2 or lead oxide. Which is the right option? Let us see how many of you can guess. Strutasya is telling it is option 3. Navtej is telling it's option 1. Let us see which is the right answer. So both 1 and 2. Okay. Potassium iodide, when it reacts with lead nitrate, it gives lead iodide and potassium nitrate. Okay. It's like a displacement reaction. Next question. A solution of sodium carbonate reacts with slaked lime to give what? First one, calcium carbonate, sodium hydroxide, both 1 and 2, and calcium oxide. Which is the right option among these? Strutasya is mentioning it as 1 and 2. And yes, this is the right option. That is both calcium carbonate and sodium hydroxide are formed. When a small piece of zinc metal is added to solution of copper sulfate and on heating, the products formed are. So when you are adding zinc metal to solution of copper sulfate and you have applied heat energy, then what are the products which are formed? Copper oxide, zinc sulfate plus copper, or zinc oxide. Fourth option is hydrogen. Which is the right option? So Vasant has mentioned it as option 2. Let us see which is the right answer. Yes, zinc sulfate and copper are the products which are formed. because zinc being more reactive than hydrogen, it displaces the hydrogen gas from sulfuric acid. A chemical equation should be balanced because of the law of dash should be verified. So the chemical equation should be balanced because the law of dash should be verified. First one, constant properties, conservation of mass, law of balance or law of equality, which is the right option. It is law of conservation of mass, no? Yes, it is option 2. Next question. Carbon plus oxygen gives rise to carbon dioxide plus Q. What is this reaction? This Q represents what? Endothermic reaction, chemical reaction, exothermic reaction or photochemical reaction, which is the right option. So, Prem Charan has mentioned it as option 2. Let us see which is the right answer. It is an exothermic reaction. Q will represent heat over here. Okay, instead of triangle, they have mentioned it as Q. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ లిబరేషన్ ఆఫ్ హీట్. ఈ రియాక్షన్ ఎప్పుడైతే జరుగుతుందో హీట్ అనేది రిలీజ్ అవుతుంది. సో దాన్ని మనం అక్కడ క్యూ ప్లేస్లో మనం రిప్రజెంట్ చేస్తాము లైక్ డెల్టా ట్రయాంగిల్ సింబల్తో. నెక్స్ట్, కాల్షియం హైడ్రాక్సైడ్ ప్లస్ కార్బన్ డైఆక్సైడ్ గివ్స్ calcium carbonate plus water. In this reaction, shiny finish to walls is due to. So in this reaction, what is causing the shiny finish to the walls? Calcium hydroxide, calcium carbonate, carbon dioxide or water, which is the right option. So Shrutasya has given it as option 2. Let us see which is the right answer. Yes, CaCO2 is the right answer. Next question. The enzymes responsible for change of color in cut apples or bananas are. So which enzyme in banana or cut apple is responsible for the color or the browning effect which we get? That is polyphenol oxidase, tyrosinase, tylin or both 1 and 2. Which is the right option? Option 2. Okay, let us see which is the right option. Both 1 and 2. Okay. So both polyphenol oxidase and tyrosinase are 2 enzymes which are actually responsible for that browny color of the apples or bananas after leaving it to the atmosphere without protecting it. Rusting of iron is an example of which reaction? First one, rancid reaction, reduction, corrosion, oxidation. Which reaction? Please mention in the text box if you have answers. Option 3, Prem Charan is mentioning it as option 3. Shrutasya is mentioning it as corrosion. Supriya has mentioned it as corrosion. Let us see which is the right answer. Oxidation is the right answer. Rusting of iron is because of conversion of losing of electrons by iron. So it is an oxidation reaction. Rancidification ante enti ante oxidation of oils or waxes indatlo cheppanu. Reduction ante gaining of electrons. Corrosion ante leaching kind of thing. సో ఇలా కాకుండా ఆక్సిడేషన్ రియాక్షన్ వల్ల రస్ట్ అనేది ఫామ్ అవుతుంది, మిగతా రియాక్షన్స్ కాకుండా. నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్. మెటాలిక్ సబ్స్టెన్స్ మేడ్ బై మిక్సింగ్ అండ్ ఫస్సింగ్ 2 or more metals, fusing 2 or more metals or non-metals is called as. So metallic substance made by mixing or fusing 2 or more metals or non-metals is called as pure metal, alloy, metal or non-metal. Which is the right option? Shraddha has mentioned it as option 3. Let us see which is the right option. Alloy. Just before we have said that alloy is a mixture of metals. Mixture of 2 or more metals. So it can be a pure mixture or it is formed by fusing of two or more metals. Next questions. Rancidity can be prevented by adding what? సో ఇందాక నుంచి నేను ఒక టర్మ్ మీకు చెప్తున్నాను. రాన్సిడిఫికేషన్ ఈజ్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఆక్సిడేషన్ అని. సో ఇక్కడ ఏ టర్మ్ ఆక్సిడేషన్ ని ప్రివెంట్ చేయడానికి యూజ్ అవుతుంది? విటమిన్సా, కార్బైడ్సా, ఆక్సైడ్సా, యాంటీ ఆక్సైడ్సా? సో శ్రద్ధ చెప్తుంది ఏంటంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ Saumika has mentioned it as option 3, carbides. Let us see which is the right option. Antioxidants. Since rancidification is oxidation, rancidification is oxidation of oils or waxes. So because of that, it is called as antioxidant. Antioxidants వాడితే మనం ఈ ఆక్సిడేషన్ ని ప్రివెంట్ చేయొచ్చు. సో ఇంకొక క్వశ్చన్ చూసి we will stop here. In tomorrow's class we will be continuing. So C6H2O2 plus 6O2 gives rise to 6H2O plus Q. So what is Q here? Carbon dioxide, 6 moles of carbon dioxide, 3 or 4 carbon dioxide. Which is the right option? Who will guess? Okay, Harsha has mentioned it as option 2. Many more has also answered. Let us check. It is 6CO2. So you can just balance the equation and see. CO2 is a definite product. So if you are not adding 6 here, you cannot match 6 carbons in the reactants, no? So it is very easy. Just by using balancing of equation, you can guess that it is 6CO2. Okay. First you have to balance the number of carbons. It has to be same with the reactants and products. Next question. Alloy gives dash to the metal. Hardness, strength, lightness, all. Which is the right option? Who will guess this question? Option 2. Navtej is mentioning it as all. It is all. So alloys, generally best example for alloy is aluminum, no? It is light, it is hard, it is having strength. So all properties ఉంటాయి అన్నమాట alloys ki. Next question. Example of an alloy in the following. Brass, bronze, steel. ఇందులో ఏది alloy? ఈ మూడిట్లో ఏదమ్మా alloy? Brass, bronze, steel. Which is the right option? All. So let us see. Yes, all of the above are alloys. Steel కానివ్వండి, brass కానీ, bronze కానీ ఇవన్నీ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ మెటల్స్ ఫ్యూజ్ అయినప్పుడు కానీ మిక్స్ అయినప్పుడు కానీ ప్రొడ్యూస్ అయ్యేటువంటి alloys అన్నమాట. ఇన్ absence of dash the development of rancidity is retarded. అంటే ఆక్సిడేషన్ జరగకుండా ఉండాలి అంటే ఇందులో ఏమి యాబ్సెంట్ అవ్వాలి? లైటా, కెమికల్సా, హీటా, విటమిన్సా? దేని యాబ్సెన్స్ లో మనకి ఆక్సిడేషన్ అనేది జరగదు, రాన్సిడిఫికేషన్ అంటే జరగదు? చెప్పండి. Guess the right answer. Navtej has mentioned it as all of the above. Pranita Vaishnavi is mentioned as option 3. So let us see which is the right option. Light is the main factor for oxidation. Okay. అందుకే కదా మనం సన్లైట్ లో ఏదైనా ఇప్పుడు మెడిసిన్స్ మీరు తెచ్చుకుంటారు మార్కెట్ నుంచి, దాన్ని ఎందుకు కూల్ అండ్ డ్రై ప్లేస్ లో స్టోర్ చేయమంటారు? టు అవాయిడ్ లైట్ పాసింగ్ త్రూ దట్ పర్టికులర్ సబ్స్టెన్స్ సో దట్ ఇట్ విల్ ట్రిగర్ ఆక్సిడేషన్. సో ఆక్సిడేషన్ కి మెయిన్ ట్రిగర్ ఏంటంటే లైట్, తర్వాత హీట్. సో ఇవి రెండు కూడా జనరల్గా మెయిన్ లైటే. లైట్ అనేది absent అయితే we can retard rancidification. Next question. Bleaching of colored objects can be done by using what? Chlorine, white color, moist chlorine and dyes. So which of the following will help in bleaching of colored objects? ఎవరు చెప్తారు ఆన్సర్ దీనికి? So Navtej is mentioning it as option 2. Shrutasya is mentioning it as option 3. Let us see which is the right answer. Moist chlorine. Okay. Moist chlorine అనేది బ్లీచింగ్ ఏజెంట్ కింద యూజ్ అవుతుంది కలర్డ్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్స్ ని బ్లీచ్ చేయడానికి. So this is the last question and we will stop with this. Flush bags of chips are filled with dash gas to prevent rancidity. సో చిప్స్ ప్యాకెట్ మనం చూసినప్పుడు ఆర్ ఫ్లష్ బ్యాగ్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా, కొంచెం పొంగి ఉన్నది, అలాంటి వాటిలో ఏ గ్యాస్ని ఫిల్ చేస్తాం ఆక్సిడేషన్ జరగకుండా ఉండడానికి? ఆప్షన్ 3 నైట్రోజన్. ఓకే, దట్ ఈస్ కరెక్ట్ బికాస్ నైట్రోజన్ హ్యాస్ ఎ వెరీ యూనిక్ ప్రాపర్టీ టు కట్ ఆఫ్ ఆక్సిజన్. ఎయిర్ లేకుండా కట్ ఆఫ్ చేసేస్తుంది. ఎప్పుడైతే ఎయిర్ ఆర్ ప్రెసెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఆక్సిజన్ అనేది ఉండదో మనం రాన్సిడిఫికేషన్ ఆఫ్ ది ఆయిల్స్ ఇన్ ద చిప్స్ అనేది మనం ప్రివెంట్ చేయొచ్చు. సో దట్ ఈస్ అ బెస్ట్ ఫిల్లర్ ఫర్ ప్యాకేజింగ్. ఓకే, నాట్ ఓన్లీ చిప్స్ ప్యాకెట్స్, మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ది మెడిసిన్స్ విచ్ కమ్స్ ఇన్ కార్టన్స్ ఆల్సో ఆర్ డన్ గ్యాసింగ్. గ్యాసింగ్ అంటే నైట్రోజన్ ఫిల్ చేసి ఆ ప్యాకెట్స్ని సీల్ చేసి పంపిస్తారు. దీనివల్ల ఏంటంటే ఆక్సిడేషన్ ఉండకుండా ఉంటుంది, ఆ ఫ్రీ స్పేస్ ఏదైతే ఉందో దానివల్ల. So that's all for today. Most probably next class I will be taking a full session for 1 hour. So we will be covering more part of it. Okay.